righty then, as Matthew used to say. All right, all right, all right. Welcome, Rustin, to the Leaders Who Care series.
Well, Mark, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here and spend a few minutes with you.
Yeah, I've been thinking about doing this one for a while, so I'm super glad you're here. And I know we were joking initially about, what are you going to do with all the paparazzis? And what was your answer to me?
Well, I've basically grown used to it, Mark, and it's just, the cross I bear, the cross I bear.
Some people, you just gotta figure out how to live with it, right?
Well, I could be so lucky. I could be so lucky. But thank you for saying so. We'll see how well we do.
Well, we'll do great. Best way to start is if you could introduce yourself, but we'll get to the business stuff in a bit. But who are you? Like, where are you from? Where you are now? A family, favorite color if you want. Something you've never told anybody, but you want to tell the world now.
Mark.
Go for it.
Let's not go too far. Yeah, I grew up in Texas. I grew up on a working cattle ranch in a small little East Texas town of about 1,400 people. Youngest of four brothers, and I've got two brothers still in Texas, one out in Alaska. And then my husband and I live just outside of New York City. And we've got one little French bulldog named Mona, and it's the three of us here. And oftentimes make it back to Texas to see family there, or over back to the UK as well, where I spent about 10 years, and my husband's British, and we head back over there to see family on that side of the pond.
The accent is always attractive, isn't it?
It's excellent. And even though I was over there for 10 years, I really kept the Texas accent. I'm not getting rid of it for some reason.
Well,
I tried to get a British one.
I was actually talking about the British accent, but
anyway. Yeah. I figured.
Right. And how's Mona doing?
Oh, she's doing great. She's doing great. She's had her evening meal, so she'll be ready for a little cuddle on the sofa later.
Sounds good. If she comes in, I won't be mad. I'd love to see her. Well, I'm trying to think. I was trying to imagine, what were you like as a kid and a teenager? Did you have a passion towards helping people, organizing people? Did you read a lot, write a lot? Did you play music, sports? What were you like?
It's really interesting for me when I juxtapose where I am today and where I grew up. And there are a lot of similarities, and then a lot of things that are really, really different. The things that are really similar, I mentioned I grew up on a working cattle ranch, youngest of four brothers. And I think that was the first team experience, my team environment, and setting a team culture and understanding about the power and dynamics of teams. And it was in the context of working on the ranch with my brothers and others there, where it's very intense, really hard work.
Yeah.
And it's day after day after day. And you recognize the power of building really strong relationships, friendships, because that dynamic will continue on and on. And I find that's very similar to today. Context completely different, but still that need for team and the camaraderie is really a passion of mine, and something I find both as a professional and on a personal side as well, of having that level of connection. So that's kind of the first element. The second element that I often joke about is that, I grew up on the ranch. My degree is agribusiness. So I've basically spent my entire life shoveling bull stuff and trying to herd animals around, whether they be four-legged or two-legged. And it's sometimes in jest, but there's probably some truth to it as well.
Yeah, I would say so. What an interesting, sharp change from small town cattle ranch to New York.
Oh, wow. Yeah. If I look at the changes I've moved around in my life, so started off in this little town of 1,400, then go to university at Texas A&M, big school. First kind of exposure to where you don't know everyone and everyone doesn't know you. Started my career in Houston, a couple of years there, then out on the West Coast in Seattle. And I didn't think it could get much different from Texas to Seattle, Washington. And then I moved over to London, and I was over in the UK for 10 years. And then to Arkansas before getting here to New Jersey. So the moves that I've had and the assignments in between all of those moves of spending time in South Africa, Tel Aviv, San Francisco, Hong Kong, it's really been a big variety along the way. And I look back, my parents, my mother in particular, as someone who was always keen on, having adventure, having different experiences. And those different experiences don't need to be on the four corners of the world, as I've been lucky enough to have. For my mother, they never were. Mm-hmm. But they were about meeting new and different people that were outside of your immediate circle. And going to places that maybe were a little bit off the beaten path for what you might see or might experience on your day-to-day, and being open to that and not being afraid to be a little bit different.
Yeah, I know that's such a fantastic experience, and probably great advice for young people to get as much as they could. It's interesting. Malcolm Gladwell said, you don't need to go to some exotic place all the time to have an experience, to have an adventure, to get whatever you're trying to get, and stories. He said, go to the CVS and ask the cashier what her story is, and see what you hear. And it's fascinating. It's true. It doesn't mean you shouldn't go travel and all that. But to your point, your mom didn't, and she had adventure and everything. So it's a wonderful thing to and appreciate you sharing that, because you can have it wherever. I do like the fact also you talk about the team with the cattle and the ranch and hard work and all that. It's so true. If I move a little bit towards the business part, but related to social impact too, it almost seems like it's taken decades for leaders and investors to recognize that aligning all types of capital with social and environmental impact is actually vital for attracting and keeping talent, which you obviously are expert in. But it's also very good for business. It's the foundation really of how we launched Fifth Element, is that leaders and businesses can do way better when they're doing good at the same time. Could you describe your experience securing support for that, financial and human commitment to create cultures, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, the values, diversity, and so on that you've had?
Yeah, it's really interesting when you and I have had conversations in the past, and it wasn't that many years ago we were talking about the triple bottom line, and that was something new and innovative. And now it's really, I won't say status quo, but it's much more of a normal conversation to have, of thinking about your impact more broadly, your impact as a human, your impact as a team, your impact as an organization, however you define that organization. And you're exactly right around talent, attraction, and retention. And as we move through different generations of talent in the workforce, we see different drivers as we move through. And we know that inclusion, belonging, and your impact as an organization is becoming a higher and higher priority, not a differentiator, a priority for your organization. It's table stakes for most recruits, certainly in the Western world, so the US, Europe, but I'm also seeing it more prevalent globally as being a real expectation. And it has to be authentic to the organization. I was on a call earlier today with my current firm, and we were having a conversations about pride, and as part of our ERG, and June being Pride Month. And one of the conversations that we had is like, what is our role as an organization? Where can we play? Where do we have the tools? Where do we have the capability? Where are we invited to participate? And then where are the areas that we're maybe not best placed to have that conversation or be in that impact? For example, we're not a policy government organization, and we don't do a lot of work in that space. So it's not really the place where we'll have the greatest impact. We are a great employer. We look for diversity in our thinking, our experiences, our workforce in all aspects. And that's where we really want to create inclusion and belonging, where we think we can have the greatest impact of giving people opportunities to learn and grow and accelerate their career. And that's the impact we can make. So I think going full circle back to your question and your observation of, you know, the importance of having a holistic talent brand and strategy, and not just lip service, but being true to who your organization is and what you're about is so important. And you've got to articulate that.
Yeah, there's so much to talk to about that. And, you know, I once read with respect to the blue zones, why those people live longer and they're happy and all that. And it came down to not one conclusion, but a key conclusion was that the thing that fills people's hearts and souls more than anything in the world is belonging, whether it's your family, your sports team, your this or that. And we felt it during COVID. People want to belong to something. It could be bad too. That's how cults attract people also, because
well, you know, Gallup and the Q12 that they're famous for with employee engagement, I think it's question number 8 is, do you have a best friend at work? And what's underlying that question is the science of feeling a connection to others at an individual level within your organization. Because you're exactly right, Mark. Feedback is great. Manager relationship is great. I have the right tools to do my job great. All of these are foundational and great expectations to have. However, you want to get to that higher level of connection and belonging. And it a lot of times starts with those individual connections. Do you have that friend at work, that person that you can count on, the one that you can be open and honest and free to be and think whatever you need to? You're not afraid to make a mistake, to say, what are you talking about? Those people in your life, in work and at home.
And it applies to management and even executives too. I've always been taught, and I've seen it through my experiences, that the most effective management teams are the ones that have established a trust, i.e. a belonging, to be able to say things directly to each other, not maliciously, but directly to each other. And the other person knows it's with the intent of making the business and their whole company better.
And I'll take it a step further, that I can say to you, Mark, I need help. And that I know Mark's going to step in and help me. Not Mark. Of course, I expect you to give me feedback, like you're saying, you know, and that it comes from that space. But let's take it to a higher level and say, I need help thinking this through. I was speaking with a colleague. Her name's Dawn. We were talking about allyship, and she's like, we've taken allyship to you're my work brother. You're not my work friend. You're my work brother. And it is about forming that level of connection that you call out and you give feedback that's helpful, that focuses on making things better, shares your concern, your risk. And also you can talk to that person about, I need some help here. I need a different way of thinking through this.
I interviewed a CEO quite a while back. That may almost been a year, but it stuck with me. Said, I'm having the best time. Being a CEO because I've been able to be emotional. I've been able to be vulnerable. I don't have to pretend like I know everything anymore. And things are better.
Yeah. That's a blessed place to be.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, you getting into that level of flow within your work is really, really difficult to get to. Really difficult.
And you're right, it is a blessed place to be too. You know, the fourth industrial revolution has been said to be all about technology, AI, AR, VR, but the fifth is really about humanity, and which again is what we're based on with Fifth Element. And we're always engaged in the harmony between impact and talent and impact to have a successful organization. And we purposely work with leaders who care, who are clear that that is what they need to be to attract the best people. Have you found, I'll observe what I've found with candidates is that, and especially women and minorities, if you will, is they're all, the people we present, they're all qualified. They can absolutely do the job and they know it. But what they ask is the company going to allow me to be involved in the most critical projects? Are they going to allow me to participate and contribute? Are they going to allow me to temporarily fail and then come back and get recognized for it? Or do they just want me to do the job? What's
Mm.
your comments on that?
Great. It's a great observation, and I love that people are bringing that to the table.
Right.
In addition to, what's my pay, my benefits,
Right.
the
Exactly.
the work culture, but really talking about what's the opportunity. I work with an organization. I'm on the board for Out and Equal, and Out and Equal is focused on workplace equality with a focus on the LGBTQ plus community.
Mhm.
And at the heart of it is very aligned with the situation you're describing here, is creating that inclusive, belonging environment where we all have the opportunity to succeed. And where I'm finding in the development of leaders and managers and teammates that's becoming more and more critical is those inclusion skills. How do I bring people into the conversation? And it's more than facilitation. That's certainly part of it. And we got our a thrill of that during COVID, where we really had to lean in on how do you facilitate a Zoom conversation when some are on camera, some are off camera,
Right.
and some are quiet and some are more vocal. How can you, and how do you, and what are the skills that support you in that? And we've probably made some progress in that. That's an aspect of it. But inclusive behaviors go further, and it also means that who we solicit input on the project, as you're describing, email feedback, how we frame that teams to make that happen, and it's intentional as well. All of these require that you intentionally seek and distribute the full differentiation of that diversity that you've got within your team. And so going back to your question of like, okay, how do we, or how can we, when we've got talent that's like, I've got skills, I've got experiences, I want to know that I'm going to work on the most important, the most critical elements. And that's really up to talent professionals like myself working with leadership teams, that every critical project that we've got is a moment to infuse diversity. And you may not have a lot of diversity in your organization, but you've got some. And it's taking those moments to really highlight the diversity, and it helps you come out with greater solutions, better ideas.
Yeah.
It also helps to make sure that we're getting our senior leadership exposure to the power of diversity as well.
Great point.
And we're setting these people up for, our diverse populations up for great success. You don't have to wait for that SVP of marketing or supply chain to come available for you to go deeper into the organization and start highlighting and bringing forward great diversity into the organization. Stop the groupthink and shake it up a bit.
Yeah, shake it up a bit. I'm with you on that for sure. That's a great point. I was working with a private equity firm recently and talking to some of the younger people there, and it was a consistent thing about them coming back and saying, my first week, the managing director asked me my opinion on something, and
Feels pretty amazing, doesn't it?
yeah, of course.
And it's really easy to do.
It's not rocket science. It's like
Exactly.
smiling takes less muscles than frowning type of deal,
Absolutely. I find it parallels a lot with allyship.
Right.
And a lot of times we get ourselves wrapped around the axle a bit of like, oh no, I'm not a member of that group, or I don't know anyone directly in that group. You know, I will I say the right thing? What does it mean to be an ally? And I pride myself on the organization where I am today, LEK. We have a real culture of people that really seek to learn. There's a recognition that we all have something to learn and we all have something to teach. And to me, that's the fundamentals of being a great ally. Openness to learning and openness to teaching.
And who would have thought that would be better for business and impact, at the same time? I mean, what a ridiculous concept. To
Yeah.
to have that. And you mentioned a point before, not waiting for the senior VP of marketing. Sometimes the executives, it's not an excuse, are so busy they don't know all the stuff not going on or going on. I mean, you can't be responsible for everything. And so what an opportunity for managers and even younger to come forth a little bit, bring it, and get noticed at the same time, and also include other people, and just asking young people for their feedback, diverse young people. I mean, it's like the best brand, the best reputation you can have, because they go tell everybody.
Absolutely. I worked in a small little organization in Bentonville, Arkansas, named Walmart. You may have come across it.
Yeah, I
Two and a
heard
half million people.
about
And to your point, when you're at such a scale, it's really difficult to know everyone and everything in the organization. And you have to make an effort. Doesn't have to be a hard effort. This isn't a big technology implementation. We're not funding millions and millions of dollars to make it happen. It's an intentional set of actions by you as a leader, whether you're a leader of a team, a leader of teams, a leader of teams of teams, but making an effort as a leader to know others and to open physically and emotionally open your door, and create those moments, whether they're small projects that you bring in diverse thinking into. Maybe they're mentorship circles that you're part of. Maybe it's an ERG that you're a sponsor, or you co-lead a team on that ERG.
Sure.
Those are just three examples, but there are countless examples where you as a leader, no matter where or what level within the organization, can lean in and learn something and be open to teaching others as well.
I had a Deloitte partner that put me on the Montreal Canadiens account. He knew I was a huge hockey fan,
Okay.
and he put me on that account because I had Bell Canada and Northern Telecom, which are huge, and it was like driving me crazy. And he purposely put me on the Montreal Canadiens account, and he brought me into other stuff, and I was thrilled. It's like this guy like he did something amazing for me. They didn't even make money on that account. That was like an iconic or whatever landmark account. And
Right.
so there's
You
smart,
needed the logo.
yeah, exactly. Smart people. That's what a smart leader does. Stuff like that. What role do you see then leaders playing to ensure the well-being of their employees? And when I say well-being, they have to look at financial well-being, physical well-being, and now especially mental well-being of their hopefully diverse employees. Why Share with us why you think it's mutually important for their business and to positively impact not only the employees but their families and community too.
Yeah, I'm hoping that most leaders, certainly CEO board members, get the business case on wellness in all of its forms.
Right.
Certainly, we have to invest our money with our workforce and our physical capital and our shareholders in responsible ways, and there's balance across all of those. To your point around the opportunities and the programs that we put in place for our people, whether it's health, well-being, financial, all of those need to be really thought through in the context of your company and your people. And that when we have conversations, and now I find it more and more frequent at the boardroom, certainly at the leadership team levels,
Oh, yeah.
is what are we doing right by our people? Are we going to motivate, retain, attract the very best, or are we just going to be kind of okay? We
Right.
know the quickest way to fail as a company, to fail as an organization, whether you're a profit or nonprofit, is when you don't have people that are excited, engaged, and committed to the purpose of the organization. It is the quickest way to fail. And we can write many case studies about companies that lost that track and lost that connection. And at the heart of it is the offering that we've got for our people.
Yeah.
And the benefit package is absolutely part of that. And that total compensation package that we put together and how we're looking after our people. And I also think for many organizations, it goes beyond that as well. For LAK, we really focus a lot of our effort on the opportunities for growth and accelerating your career. That's what we can deliver, and that's what we're really proud of being able to do. And for other organizations, it might be different things. But I love having those conversations of how are we really going to differentiate ourselves? What's the context we're operating in? And what really matters to our people?
And I love it when people have told me that they love going home and talking to their kids and spouse about what happened at
Yeah,
work or what's happening at work. And I think, excuse me, I think that's so important to the sustainability, the future, even of communities, not to get too philosophical, but if the kids see that mom and dad's coming home and it's like, oh my God, I'm tired, work sucked, my boss sucks too, I don't know what we're doing, no one cares about anything, versus, guys, we're gonna have dinner. I want to tell you what happened today. I'm probably could get a bonus, and apparently we're going to be doing this thing, with food banks or whatever after, and the kids hear this stuff, and
yeah.
it's not fluff. It's real stuff that makes an impact, don't you think?
I think it absolutely is. And it also reminds me, Mark, I worked for an amazing leader at Walmart. She was a 30 plus year veteran when I began working with her. And she had a wonderful story she would tell about my home family and my work family,
Right.
and keeping the conversations between the two, because sometimes you've got to lean on your work family because your home family needs you at home, and sometimes you lean on your home family because your work family needs you. And in the retail world, around Christmas and when the stores get really busy, you've got to really focus in with your work and your work family. And you have to be transparent with your home family about when that's coming. But it's about transparency and communication,
100%.
and that each side knows what's happening on the other side. Because I think that the same excitement that you come home around the dinner table about, you also want to be able to be your authentic self when you go into work. And, I'm really excited. Jeff and I are taking a 2-week vacation and we're doing A, B, and C. And it's something I want to be excited about and share with my work friends too.
Yeah, it's I never really loved the term work-life balance. I understood the intent, obviously, 100%.
Yeah, but it's a fallacy when we say balance, that every day is going to be equal.
Yeah.
It really is around transparency, planning, and being clear
Yeah.
about your priorities in that moment.
Yeah, 100%. And so a little bit of a personal question here. We said we launched our firm on International Women's Day on purpose because we had a whole initiative there. Um, Diversity we've talked about is important. And, I've talked to women about what it was like going through their career as a woman in different eras. So as a gay man in major corporate, coming from a small farm on top of that, and now, with a really great company like LEK Consulting, how did you navigate in your life type of thing and thrive to really, achieve so much?
It definitely is around navigation. I'm glad you used that word. I started my career something like 25 years ago this month in Houston, Texas, at a consulting firm, then Anderson Consulting.
Mhm.
And at the time, we didn't really have ERGs. I didn't really know about being out at work. I didn't have role models. And as I've navigated over the last 25 years, I've really recognized the criticality and the importance of being authentic, being yourself, letting others see the real you. And whether it's a role model for one or someone else or a team or many, numbers don't matter. What matters is that someone says, all right, I can make it. Rustin did. He's his full self. I can be as much or where or ever how much I want to be. And that's great. I also think that, the power of, we mentioned this, allies is so important. When I joined Walmart and during my time with Walmart, I was the most senior out leader in that organization as a senior vice president. The sponsor for our Pride Network, the US CEO, Greg Ferran, who's now with Air New Zealand, he was such a wonderful advocate and used his platform to help give Pride a place, felt as a group that we were seen, heard, listened to, and that we had someone that was in our corner. Because before I got there, you didn't have that level of executive sponsorship within a network. And so I tell every company, no matter your size, that was Walmart, huge.
Yeah.
Even small companies, you can be an ally and be the champion for that ERG because you're in a really wonderful place to use your platform to support that. And again, allyship is wonderful because we all need an ally and we can all be an ally.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. And it's so important because, and again, it goes all the way down to family. Little kids see and hear and feel
Totally.
what's going on, and they grow up. And we're working with somebody on, early childhood, 0 to 3 years old. How much impact is done just in that period for future life?
Wow.
So, the rest of it makes such an impact. And if we all want a better world, for all sorts of reasons, then what you're talking about is super important. So thanks for sharing that. Last question on this part. In 2021, I had a client that told me, he said, "Hey, Mark, 2020 was the year that flew by slowly." And I thought, what a great comment. And I just kept remembering it. And the last few years have been interesting, would be an understatement for everybody.
Yeah.
What are you most grateful for with respect to that? And what are you most hopeful for?
I'm most grateful for my husband, my family. I really, really saw the power of having someone that's with you in your corner through tough times, through rocky roads, through celebratory moments as well. And that's what I'm most thankful for. Absolutely.
Well,
And then what was your second bit? What am I most excited about?
what are you most hopeful for?
Most hopeful for?
That could be
I'm most hopeful for more sunny days,
ah,
figuratively and literally as well, as it's a little bit overcast today.
no, and so I appreciate that. And you know what you said before, you can really know people. It's easy to have a good attitude when things are going great, but who's there when the going gets tough, type of thing? Who's there
Absolutely.
during
And
those?
someone you want there with you when the going gets tough as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. This versus the alternative, which we don't even want to know about.
Yes.
So, well, I'm super grateful for having got to know you over a number of years now, and I'm grateful that you are a leader who cares, for real. So I really appreciate that, and I'm also hopeful for sunny days all the time.
Well, you're
So
in Southern California. You've got it, Mark. You've got it.
it never rains. It never rains in California. Remember that song? So hey, thank you for sharing all that. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark. My pleasure.